Big expectations at Wisconsin. Luke Fickell comes to Camp Randall. How long does it take before he gets things turned around and rolling?
You are Locked On Big Ten, your daily podcast on the Big Ten Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Big Ten. I'm Craig Shemon. Thanks for making us your first listen each and every day. We really do appreciate it. So today we're going to do a deep dive into the Wisconsin Badger football program. Take a look at what we think will happen for this upcoming season. We'll do a game-by-game analysis of the schedule, an honest assessment, kind of figure out, kind of predict where we think they will be. And then our benchmark for the day today will be the Big Ten Network's Big Ten Classics. Got some great ones coming up this weekend. Be sure to subscribe and follow Locked On Big Ten for free wherever you get your podcast. That way, you'll get the latest episode of this podcast as soon as it becomes available each and every day. All right, Camp Randall. Luke Fickell coming in from Cincinnati. Let's take a look at this program. Fifth in the West last year. If you don't follow this program closely, if you're not from Madison or wherever the case may be, you may be a little bit surprised if somebody told you that Northwestern, Iowa, and Purdue have all represented the West in the Big Ten championship since Wisconsin last did. They are also the winningest Power 5 team in college football to not make the college football playoff. So changes are afoot. They had to make changes. They want to get up to the next level. But I'm going to argue things weren't totally broken, but enough to make changes and bring in a new coaching staff and bring Luke Fickell in here. They've made 8 bowl games in the last 9 seasons, and they've had 21 straight winning seasons. So it's not like Luke Fickell comes in here and takes over a completely broken down program, but he is expected to lift it up and get it to the next level. So it has been a mixed bag. There's no question about it. And they're going to get a lot more aggressive on offense. Offensive coordinator Phil Longo comes in. His resume includes working for Mac Brown at North Carolina and also Ole Miss, and they like to go vertical. Just boom, downfield. That's what they do. Now, quarterback Graham Mertz transferred to Florida. He's probably going to be the starter there. So there's a completely new quarterbacks room at Wisconsin, all transfers. The most interesting one, of course, is Tanner Mordecai. Tanner comes in. Now, he's been a couple places. He's been to SMU. He's been to Oklahoma. And a lot of times when I talk about guys that transfer a lot, sometimes it's a bad sign. Sometimes I think, man, why don't you just stay and compete? Kids today don't compete. They move on to another place where they think they can get, a starting gig handed to them. I don't think that's the case here with Tanner Mordecai because he started off at Oklahoma. Okay, he was behind Kyler Murray and Jalen Hurts. What are you going to do? Both are in the NFL. One of them won a Heisman. The other one was in second place in the Heisman. So probably a good decision for him to go ahead and move. He goes to SMU and in 2 years throws for over 7,000 yards and 72 touchdowns. Looking pretty good. Got some nice tape. And now Wisconsin's interested in him and brings him in. So this guy can throw the football, and he's got an offensive coordinator and a head coach that wants to throw the football. So this could work out. A couple other quarterbacks. Again, the quarterbacks room is completely new. Braden Locke comes in from Mississippi State. He's never played, so we really don't have anything on him. And also Nick Evers comes in, also from Oklahoma. And he's played in 1 game and thrown 1 pass. So Tanner Mordecai is going to be the guy. Meanwhile, the receiving core looks pretty good. And we started off with Chimere DK. He returns. He played all 13 games last year. Leading wide receiver, 47 catches and 6 touchdowns. So good there. Check. Bryson Green is somebody I want to keep an eye on. This is going to be this is a transfer from Oklahoma State. He had 3 games where he received over 100 yards in those games and 5 touchdowns. So he can play. You got CJ Williams coming in from Southern Cal. Not too much, just 4 catches his freshman year. And then Will Pauling comes in. He is a sophomore transfer that comes with Fickell from Cincinnati. and 12 catches in 9 games. Obviously, Luke Fickell liked him enough to bring him with him from Cincinnati. So I think it's a good wide receivers room. And I think that'll be, obviously they're going to get a lot of attention with the way they want to throw the ball this year. So with that in mind, let's not forget that Wisconsin's bread and butter year in and year out has always been big, huge offensive linemen and good, strong running backs. And they have that. So I'm going to be real interested to see how Phil Longo balances that. You don't want to ignore it. Braylon Allen comes back. He was 4th in the Big Ten last year with 1,242 yards rushing. And he also had 7 games where he rushed for over 100 yards. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. And then Ches Malusi, he rushed for over 500 yards last year. So they're pretty good at running back too. And the offensive line, let's start with the center because Jake Renfro, again, another player that comes from Cincinnati with Luke Fickell, transferring. And center, look, it's the most important position. You got to know the scheme. You got to know the offense. You got to be able to direct blocking schemes. And right there at the line of scrimmage and make a lot of smart calls with very little time. And obviously Luke Fickell is comfortable with him at that. And that's going to be the center of the offensive line. Now, Wisconsin may have the biggest tackles in the country. They just might. In fact, Riley Mahlman is 6'8", 318 pounds. And Jack Nelson is 6'7", 305. So you know what I did? I did a little math. I'm not real great at math, but I did some math. Those two guys together, you've got 13 feet and 3 inches and 623 pounds of tackle. 13 feet, 3 inches, and 623 pounds between the two guys. It was some fun math. I don't have fun with math that often, but that was pretty fun. So that's what you got blocking for you up front. Now let's take a look at the defense. The defense had 7 games last year where they gave up 17 or fewer points. Not bad. Not bad. They did lose a couple of key players to the NFL. You got Isaiah Mullins and Gio Paez coming back. These are guys that don't have a lot of stats. They've played. They've been around. Now it's their turn to step up front. But the best news about this defense with this Wisconsin football team is the linebackers coming back. The 3 leading tacklers all coming back. Mima Jungmeda comes back, leading tackler, 3 sacks, had an interception. And you know what? He's also a 3-time academic all Big Ten person, 3-time. And so I was just curious, what's this guy majoring in? Finance and investment banking is what he's majoring in. I'm going to give him a call when his football career is over. No doubt about that. Jordan Turner is the defensive MVP from the Guarantee Rate Bowl. And CJ gets 8 tackles for loss last year. These guys, 3 leading tacklers, they're together, heart and soul of this defense. So looking pretty good there if you're Wisconsin. Let's take a look at the secondary a little bit here. They've got a grad transfer in Jason Miter coming in from Boston College to add a little depth. And Alexander Smith returns. Now, he started off a little injured last year, only started 6 games. But you know what I like about him? If you ever watch me and listen to me, you know I like corners that not only can cover, but guys that can make tackles. And he's one of those guys that is not afraid to go up there and make a tackle. You just got to stay healthy. Absolutely. And Kamoe Latu comes back as well at strong safety. Made 12 starts last year, and he was the 4th leading tackler on the team. So they got the top 4 guys back on defense. So that's definitely a good thing. In good shape right there. I always like to take a look at the future a little bit at this point. Look at the recruits, maybe some of the rankings of the recruiting class for 2024. And if you look at services like 24/7 or whatever, they have the Badgers ranked at 27th in the country right now. They were 40th last year, so Fickell's improving what he has inherited there. Grant Steck will come in 2024. He's 6'6". He's a tight end out of Illinois. And they continue to make investments up front. Kevin Haywood, 6'7", 290 out of high school. That's humongous coming out of high school, out of Pennsylvania. In fact, he just signed this month. And Derek Jensen, a 6'6", 285 offensive tackle out of Heartland, Wisconsin. He comes in as well. So that's a look at how things are now and a quick peek to the future. And as we continue, we're going to take a look with an analysis of the 2023 Wisconsin Badger football schedule. I'm going to give you my honest opinion. We're going to go game by game and figure out how many games they're going to win this year in Luke Fickell's first season on Locked On Big Ten. We are brought to you by FanDuel. Baseball season is in full swing, and there's no better way to get into the action than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. Just go to FanDuel.com/lockedon and join today. And I keep telling you, the baseball bets are fun. Got a little something on the Rays Diamondbacks myself. So don't miss your chance to snag a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 when you join FanDuel today. Just go to FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up. FanDuel, the official partner of Major League Baseball. Major League Baseball trademarks used with permission. All right, let's take a look at the schedule. Get that out here. But first, I want to thank you all for making Locked On Big Ten your first listen each and every day. Every day is our next show. We'll take an early look at the Minnesota Golden Gophers as we continue our team-by-team breakdown of the upcoming Big Ten football season. Be sure to subscribe on YouTube, share, follow, and like Locked On Big Ten. And I personally thank you, by the way. I mean, you can follow me on Twitter and all that as well. So, in fact, it's right there at Talk Big Ten. And I would love to hear from you there or make comments on YouTube as well. All right, here's the schedule. Opening up September 2nd against Buffalo, 3:30 game. It's called a win, okay? Right away, hitting the road, week 2 at Washington State for a night game out there. That's a nightmare of a trip to make, getting to that stadium and traveling out there. And last year, Wisconsin came up on the short end against them, 17-14. So let's put an asterisk by this game and come back to it. I don't know if they're going to win or not. You're going to have a lot of newness on both sides. Not only is Wisconsin new with its coaching staff, you have 2 new coordinators out there at Washington State. They will want to throw the ball a lot. So I don't know. We'll just, by the way, the Badgers lead the all-time series 2-1. They don't play that often. They, as I said, they played last year. Wisconsin won in 2007, and then they won back in 1976. That's it. This is not one of your historical rivalries in college football. Then they come home to take on Georgia Southern. They travel in from Statesboro. That is a noon game for week 3. Week 4 is at Purdue. Another night game, 7 o'clock. That could be a pretty raucous environment, being a night game out there. They made some improvements out there at Ross-Ade Stadium, new scoreboard, the whole deal. New quarterback, new head coach, a lot of newness there too. I think it's a game that Wisconsin will be able to win. I like Wisconsin's running game. Again, I said the whole beginning of the show, I told you you're going to throw more. We'll see how that game plays out. And then for week 5, it's home against Rutgers. So I think for sure, I think they can win 4 out of those 5. I don't know. Big question mark against Washington State. Then here's the thing. Buckle up for this. The next 3 games, this is the tough stretch that makes or breaks the season. All right. Iowa on October 14th. That's a game they lost last year, 24-10, and only had 51 rushing yards. Didn't work out so well. It got worse the next week. Next week, they got Illinois. That game was even worse last year. Lost 34-10 and only had 2 rushing yards. And then the game after that on the 28th is going to be Ohio State, in which they lost 52-10. They did break out of their rushing slump. They did get 192 yards out of Braylon. 165 yards out of Braylon Allen and 192 yards total. So they fixed something, and they're going to have to run. But that stretch of Iowa at Illinois and against Ohio State, that's tough sledding, man. If you want to be honest, that is going to be tough. So let's put an asterisk by all 3 of those. Then they take on Indiana at Bloomington. Wisconsin should be able to win that game. They come home to take on Northwestern. They should be able to win that. Nebraska, I don't know yet. Still figuring them out. Matt Rule and company. Just to be safe, let's put an asterisk by that one. And then they have the season finale at Minnesota. So the games I didn't put an asterisk by, let's say worst case scenario, they lose the 5 games and put asterisks by. 7-5. I mean, they were 7-6 last year. So 7-5 gets you in a bowl game. Maybe you're 8-5. One game improvement with Luke Fickell. Best case scenario, I could see Wisconsin pull off a 9-3, maybe. But how about you? What do you think? Hit me up at Twitter at Talk Big Ten, or you can make some comments again on YouTube. I would love to hear from you. So that is a look at the schedule, an honest assessment, somewhere between 7-5. Best case scenario, 9-3. Either way, get in a bowl game again. So we'll see. Like to know what you think as well. Coming up, we're going to take a look at the Big Ten Network's Big Ten Classics, and we will check that out on Locked On Big Ten. All right, our final segment every day, we like to do a benchmark. And on this particular day each week, we like to take a look at the Big Ten Network and the Big Ten Classics that they air. And, okay, going into the weekend, Friday, Saturday, it's a lot of lacrosse, a lot of softball. But you know what? Sunday, they get back to business. They get back to business with some football. Sunday, July 1st. Start off early in the morning at 6 o'clock. You might want to record this one. But let's take a look at it. At 6 a.m., it's the 2022 Michigan State-Michigan game from last year. Blake Corum rushing for 177 yards, and that one in a touchdown. Then they follow that up at 7 a.m. with the Big Ten moment, the trouble with the snap. If you live in the state of Michigan, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It'll be anchored by Mark D'Antonio, former Michigan State coach, Jalen Watts, who returned the fumbled snap in that game, and Sean McDonough, who called the game. And then they follow it with the edited rebroadcast of the game at 7:30. Again, the 2015 Michigan State-Michigan game. And that's where Blake O'Neal fumbled a snap. Last play of the game, Jalen Watt Jackson scoops it up 38 yards for the walk-off touchdown. Everybody's stunned, and that was Jim Harbaugh's first year. So they're going to air that. And then they follow it up. I mean, they're really going hard and heavy on the Michigan State rivalry. 8:30, all times are Eastern, by the way. Divided we stand. And if you're listening on the audio podcast, I've got these on the video screen. Feel free to check it out on YouTube, but I'm going to describe it in depth a little bit for those that may only be listening to the audio version of the podcast. After that, they play the 2007 Michigan State-Michigan game from at 9:30 from 2007. Chad Henne, the 31-yard touchdown pass to Mario Manningham with less than 3 minutes to go for the win there. Then they get off Michigan State. And at 11 a.m. Eastern time at the 2014 Ohio State-Penn State game where Ohio State won in double overtime. Spoiler alert. Great thriller there. At noon, it's the Ohio State-Penn State game from 2022 last year. Ohio State won that one fairly easily, 44-31, and that's going to be an important matchup for Penn State this year. Laid that case out already. At 2 o'clock, the 1997 Ohio State-Penn State game where Ohio State beat the 1997 Ohio State-Penn State game at 2 o'clock. That's Curtis Enos's 211-yard game-winning touchdown game where number 2 ranked Penn State wins 31-27. And then they close it out at 5 o'clock Eastern time, 2019, Iowa and Wisconsin. We've been talking about Wisconsin here today. Jonathan Taylor rushing for 250 yards in that 24-22 win. Big Ten Classics on the Big Ten Network. Always enjoy watching those. All right. This has been a fun show. It's gone fast already. I want to thank you for making Locked On Big Ten your first listen each and every day. Every dayers, our next show, we'll take an early look at the Minnesota Golden Gophers football team. So I want to invite you for that. And also invite all of you, tell your friends about this new version of Locked On Big Ten. We're kind of like our own club. We want to get as many followers and regular everydayers as possible. Y'all can reach me at Talk Big Ten on Twitter or comments on YouTube, as I've mentioned before. And love to hear from you. Usually check those comments out every night. And be sure to subscribe and follow this podcast right now on your favorite podcast app. And you'll get the latest episode of Locked On Big Ten as soon as it is available each and every day. And now inviting you for a second listen, check out the Locked On Sports Today podcast for the latest on everything going on in sports. That'll do it. I'm so thrilled you were with us. Can't wait to do the next one here. I'm Craig Shemon on Locked On Big Ten.